Welcome inside the DFS studio. I am something about Mary. Looks like I got something in my hair up here. What's going on, Gyiraszin? Gyiraszin as my guest inside the DFS studio this week. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gyiraszin hosts a podcast with me and Uncle T called The Wishbone. It's a bunch of old guys. Gyiraszin's an old guy, just like me, just like Uncle T. What's up, buddy? Good to have you here. You know, you put me up with the show. You got all your fancy stuff. Usually we do it. It looks like you're in a basement closet. Now you got beautiful Red Wings things. What's going on back here?
You know, I had to do myself up a little bit for you, buddy. So got my hair cut, got my Run Pure dress shirt on. But usually my desk is on the other side of the room, and I just moved it over a little bit so that the background was a little bit better. And the reason I did that is because I'm old and I can't figure out how to put the virtual background on the back. So I just went old school and sat in front of something. I mean,
you got to be kidding me.
No, I mean, I didn't really try too hard, but no, I'm not really kidding you.
All right. So today we're talking about you getting into betting, getting into DFS, obviously getting banned from your national restaurant chain, and you know, your dad giving you weed and stuff. But we also got to get through your process and some other things too. So before we get into the really juicy stuff, like I really want to know about your dad introducing you to weed. That sounds very damaging to a young man. Before we do that, let's talk about some of the hits you've had in DFS, because people really don't know Gyiraszin. It's like, Gyiraszin, come on, man. You do your cores in football, and then we don't see you the rest of the year. So thank God you could be on with me. Who is Gyiraszin? Where did you burst onto the scene? How? What was your big win? When was it?
Well, probably I started playing like 10 years ago, and I had just recently got divorced. So I sat home and started thinking about what's this DFS stuff. I saw the commercial, you know, that DraftKings and FanDuel started kind of coming out, and it was just being talked about. So I thought, oh, I'll check it out. The first week of baseball, I won like $7,000 off a $10 tournament. So I thought, well, this is easy. You know, literally the first like $200 I put money in, I won $7,000. So I thought, oh, this is easy. I'm just going to continue on. And then I drummed up a relationship because I had Twitter with his name's Shane Weatherby, and he good friend of mine, and he played DFS, and he was up in Canada, and we just started talking. So we started a company together, like a tout site called Beeline Sports. So I helped him quite a bit. He was more on the front side. We were kind of just making lineups together. And so I was playing with him for a couple years on his account, because in Canada, I don't know if too many people know, they don't pay taxes on their DFS winnings. So
hold on, you built the Canadian government out of like 75% taxes?
Well, I mean, I was just helping Shane. He would give me some kickbacks, and we ended up going.
I think it's terrific. Like, screw it, man. Their taxes are way too high up there. They're legitimately a little over 50%, but so yeah, that's what you
don't
did.
Tax lottery winnings. So they don't tax lottery winnings or anything like that in Canada. So
do you want to move there? Because
isn't
it just, it's right there. Like Windsor's right there by you. You're in Detroit, right?
You know, the way the country is now, I mean, why wouldn't you think about it? But I would never leave the homeland here. So, I mean, I thought about maybe I could get an address or something, but you know, whatever. I just didn't even fool with it. So anyway, Shane and I just kind of started playing together, and we ended up winning a couple seats and went to the Playboy Mansion a couple times. So, you know, at the time it seemed to be okay to kind of have like a team as your little DFS name. And, you know, there was a couple other dudes that was known. There was one or two of them playing. So, you know, we were kind of doing the front. He was doing the front on a Beeline. I was kind of helping with lineups. We were making lineups together and reaping the benefits. And like I said, I got to go to the Playboy Mansion twice, actually, within a few months. And then I got to start to know everybody in DFS. And then one year I played myself and ended up winning. I got in maybe about 1,500 in tournaments. It was like one of the very first times that I decided to put up some, what I would call deep real money instead of just a couple $100. And had a couple buddies pitch in with me, and we played like 1,600. I think I played two lineups. I played them in the Monster and then the $300 qualifier, and I hit it. I won, and I won the Monster. So I won like 90,000 with three buddies tailing on me, basically. And it was like just the stroke of luck. So like the very first time I really played big. So win the 90K, win a seat. That was what, 2016, I think, football live final, FanDuel. So that's there where I met Big T. Come to find out along the way too, I figured out that Hoop went to the same high school I went to.
What?
So yeah, so Hoop literally grew up in the neighborhood, like within a half mile from me, but we went to different elementary schools, but we ended up at the same high school. But I was 10
You're
years
older than him, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 10 years older than Hoop.
10 years older.
10 to 12. I don't remember exact number, but so Hoop and I just kind of drummed up a relationship because we were thinking, there's 100 guys going to this live final and there's 2 dudes from the same high school. Like, what's the odds of that? Like the whole country. So we kind of just laughed about it. And so I went to the live final and we had a really good time partying and hanging out. And if anybody's ever got to go to one of those, it's just like a vacation with 100 of your good friends after a while, and everybody's partying. The FanDuel guys are buying you drinks and dinners and, it was a lot of fun. So, ended up actually coming in 6th in that event. And I thought I was going to win the live final and win the $1 million. But actually I was being interviewed. They thought I was going to win because the last game left was the Raiders and the Chargers. So I had Rivers, Inman, Gates, and Crabtree, and that was the only game left. So I believe if it would have worked out, if the Chargers would have ran down, kicked the field goal, went to overtime, I would have shipped $1 million. But I couldn't complain. Won 150 grand there. So, but football truly isn't my favorite sport. Baseball is my favorite sport.
Baseball, huh?
So I love baseball. That's really where I started working with Run Pier. It was during baseball season. Baseball is more of a grind than, it's an everyday sport. So I was more of a baseball guy. So the year after I won the live final, I actually went to 3 live baseball finals in a row. And I believe I was one of only 2 people to do that, with Love Bases being the other. So I went to the live finals in the baseball, went with Hoop again, hanging out with all the guys and the fellas. But, I've had I think it's been 5 hits over 46K. I think I had 46K, a couple 50s, a 90, a 150. So, I went through the whole, I just evolved with the DFS, like when I have talked to a few people, one of our counterpart, Bobby Gomes, asked me, how have you made it so long? I've seen a lot of guys coming and going, and, when I was hitting big, I was gung ho. I thought I was going to be the next greatest thing in DFS. And, I learned a lesson real quick. I started playing the high end stakes, the $3,300 tournaments, $1,600 tournaments. I'd have 10 grand out there, playing every night. The stress level for me just was not something that I generally could handle. And I thought I could handle about anything, but the stress of that every day, the up and downs, me realizing my mood swings. So I just sat back after a while and thought, you know what? I've won a lot of money. At this point, I could literally lose 10,000 a year and still be way ahead after 10 years. So I just thought to myself, I'm just going to play some single entry stuff, which I do. And I'm just going to play maybe close to 1,000 a week, like in football. Baseball, I usually play about 500 to 1,000 a day, but so I just never really wanted to get too crazy into it where it was affecting my mood swing. So I just play for fun now. So, I don't really care about missing a slate. If I miss a slate, I miss a slate. I know some guys can't do it because they got to miss out. They don't want to miss out on the one time. But, you live and learn. And I'm old, so I'm getting older. I just learned to, there's a lot of other things in life that I want to have fun with. You win some money. I want to enjoy it. I just don't want to keep sitting in my basement grinding and trying to plug away at DFS. I like to go have fun. I've been always a pretty outgoing person. But, man, I do love DFS. The community's great. I've met a lot of really good friends along the way. I would never do anything different. Been to some pretty cool places, pretty cool vacations, won some money. And, here I get to work with you guys at Run Pier, and it's a joy.
I never went to the Playboy Mansion. I went to the Playboy party at the Super Bowl, but I never went to the actual mansion. Tell me a little bit about it. What's going on there? Like, are there boobs everywhere? Are people having sex everywhere? Is there anything like that?
Well, I was a little disappointed with that, to be honest, the first time I went, because like I said, I'd been recently divorced. So at the time
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, oh yeah, man, I'm going to Playboy Mansion. I got some money in my pocket, shit, I got whirled by the balls. But I went out there and it was in the backyard. It was a pretty cool setting, like you're kind of off in the mountains a little bit in California, and the pool was incredible. They had like a mini zoo. They had a bunch of birds, bunch of little monkeys. They had like peacocks and shit walking around, and
But
then
no
I
boobs.
went in the grotto. I did see a couple pair, but it's not like you would think. And it was just some, a couple girls flashing, because what ended up happening, FanDuel, we were there, I want to say 6 hours, I think, or maybe it was 9 hours, 6 or 9 hours, but they broke it up into a third. So FanDuel had the first wave of girls they bust in. They bust in girls basically they were like from an agency, and they were supposed to be friendly with us and just intertwine, because it was all dudes, right? So they tried to throw some girls in there, but the first wave of girls were all kind of stuck up and kind of just on themselves. The second wave, they got a little looser. Well, the third wave, though, they were really loose, because their goal was to get you to leave with them, to take them to some club. So, I got asked, will you pay for a booth all night, 10 grand a night, free bottle service? And, we'll take, these, playmates want to go. And I was like,
did you do it?
No, hell no. I told one of them, you better be under the table all night, all of you.
Yeah,
for 10 grand
definitely.
a night. Like, shit, I'm not
for
paying
10
that.
grand, she better be sleeping over for a couple of nights.
Right. But I mean, I went and hung out in the grotto, got some pretty cool pictures, and,
All right.
got to drink, saw the old man one time he come out to the window, and, which it was pretty cool. I mean, for somebody our age, that was like an iconic place, obviously. So, I mean, I'm sure if you went through a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds bucket list, to say you went to the Playboy Mansion is probably a pretty cool thing. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, but you meet some pretty cool people there, have fun, and that's really what it's all about.
So, quite a few things to get to here about your life. Your dad introduced you to weed and betting. Was it at the same time?
Well, yeah, around the same time. So, my parents got divorced when I was in kindergarten. So it was kind of a messy divorce. My mom and dad really didn't communicate very well. There was money issues, it seemed like, all the time. And so, I saw my dad probably up until I was probably 18, but up until, my early years, I probably only saw my dad maybe 10 weekends a year. It was like very limited. I didn't get to see my dad very much. He lived like an hour away from me. But, come to find out later in life, my dad was out having a good time, having fun. My mom just raked him over the coals as much as possible. So, but so at an early age, my dad worked at a Ford/Mazda plant. It was Mazda, it became Ford later. But my dad was really into betting on football. So I figured it out at an early age, because my dad would root for every other team. One week he's rooting against the Lions. The next week he's rooting for the Lions. The next week he's rooting for the Bears. The next week he hates the Bears. So I'd never figured it out. So finally somebody told me he was betting on the games and had money on the games. So I kind of was curious. So I started to ask him about it, and he'd bring me home those little parlay cards. So he'd bring those home, and I'd play $10 or $20 worth and, circle the 4 games, and kind of started doing that way. So when I was probably like 12, he'd introduce me to those. So I started gambling, and then, which ended up later in life, I ended up actually getting those cards for him, and he would take them to the plant. Yep. So when I was like 20 years old, I was making 25% of whatever my dad brought back from my bookie. And my dad would bring me back 3, 4, 5 grand a week from the plant.
What?
Yeah. So here I was 20 years old, and I was getting $1,000 in football bets, like card money. So I kept, I was making pretty good money, not working. So, I had a really nice car and, had all that stuff. So I had money to spend on, had, girls around, partying around. So I always, I got into that. But my dad, though, with introducing me to to pot, he had a buddy who owned a bar downtown Detroit. So in Detroit, they have a huge firework festival every 4th of July. And so he asked me, I was 14. I was just going into 9th grade. And he asked me if I wanted to go down and hang out at his buddy's bar and that I could sit up on the roof and watch the fireworks. And it'd be really cool. I was like, yeah. So I went down there and we're sitting there and it was getting a little chilly up on the roof. So I asked him for a coat or whatever else, and he gave me his members only coat. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
So he gave me his members only coat. It smelled like Marlboro. So, you know, being a kid, my dad smoked a lot. So it smelled like Marlboros. Well, I reach in his pocket, pull out his pack of Marlboros, and I look inside, and there's like a half dozen joints rolled up in the cigarette pack. So here I am, a kid, never
How
been
old?
exposed. I was 14, going into 9th grade. So it was like 4th of July. So I was going into 9th grade. So I confronted him about it. Like, is this yours? You know, I was kind of like taken back and kind of, you know, like just mad at him, really, you know.
Uh-huh.
So he kind of calmed me down. We're up on the roof, and he said, have you ever tried marijuana? I was like, no. And I played sports. You know, I was a jock. So I was like, no way, man. So he's like, you want to try it? And I thought, what?
You were 14 and your dad's getting you high?
Yeah. So he asked me if I wanted to try it. Now, mind you, he's known I've drank already. So, but I had got suspended in 6th grade for we tried to smoke weed and we were not successful. So, well, I got grounded in 6th grade, basically, for we stole our buddy's bag and his older brother, and we tried to roll it in toilet paper, and we tried to smoke it, and we got caught. So I got grounded for a whole summer in 6th grade for it. So he was probably like, here he is, 3 years older, you know, well, he's probably done it is what he's thinking. He's thinking I was bullshitting him probably. But so yeah, he fired up the joint. We smoked it, and he just told me, and I will say there's one lesson on that night that I learned. He told me, I don't mind if you smoke, and I won't be mad at you if you drink, but please don't ever do cocaine, he told me. And he said, if you do cocaine, he told me that I would like it. He's like, you will like it, and you will one day wish that you'd never done it. So please, if there's anything I can get in your head, please never do it. And I'm 48, and that has stuck with me ever since. And I've never tried it. A bunch of my friends have. I just won't do it. So he's probably right. I have an addictive personality. I probably would have liked it. So I just took that as like that was kind of a life little lesson and went with it.
Wow. That's nuts. I could never smoke weed with my kids. No.
Well, I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old now, and I wouldn't. I would not. I'll talk to him about it, but
yeah.
You know, when the time comes and we're older, I mean, here it's legal now too. So it's a little different. I mean, back then it was illegal. So here his 14-year-old son's walking around with 6 joints in his members only coat.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But I mean, back then was so different, you know, there was no cameras, you know, nobody had cell phones. There was none of that shit. So
do you get along with your ex-wife? You said you got divorced. Do you get along with her, or do you hate her, or just not?
No,
like
I do get along with her. She's a friend,
How?
you know.
She's your friend?
Yeah, we get along well. You know,
Wow.
I think going through that, and actually going through with my parents went through, I learned, and I got some good advice when I was about to go through my divorce, that, you know, at that point, it's not about you, and stop being selfish and then try to hold your grudges, and you'll end up in court and fighting with your ex-wife. And there's times you just got to bite it because, you know, in reality, you and your ex-wife still only have X amount of money to raise your children. So if you want to be stupid and give it to a bunch of lawyers and fight over stupid shit and bicker and argue about crap, then, you know, then that's on your own doing. And then it's just really taken in the long run from your children. So, you know, it's not like either one of us, you know, we did well for ourselves, but it wasn't like, you know, we were wealthy, rich, that, you know, I could pay lawyers all kinds of money. So actually her and I discussed what was going to kind of happen. And, you know, we ended up getting her a condo close where the kids could go to school, stay in the same schools. And I did everything in my power to make sure I could get my kids everywhere they needed to be. And, you know, at the time I had my own company, so I could, you know, spend that time with my kids, which I look back now and, you know, I'll never give that up for anything. I got to, you know, be with my kids quite a bit. It was kind of different for me because instead of living that crazy everyday life, coming home, trying to keep shit going, it when you only had your kids half the time, you could get all your shit done. And then the days I had my kids, I could sit down, play games, have fun, do stuff like that with them. But yeah, I mean, we get along. I just realized there was never reason to throw her under the bus. I mean, they're still my children's mother. So I
can't do that. Like, I cannot stand my ex. Like, it's cringeworthy. Like, when I hear her voice, it makes me just want to rip my skin off. But you have to at least put up it's the first time I've ever acted a way that I didn't feel. Let's just put it that way. And you got to do it for your kids. You don't want your kids feeling freaked out. Right. Your kids are older now. Did they ever ask you what happened?
I mean, they kind of do. They really don't. I don't really get into it. I tell them, that's between me and your mother. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened that built up to, got us to where we were. We were high school sweethearts. Oh. So, we were kind of later in life, and, it just, I mean, I don't regret, any of the situation. I got 2 beautiful daughters. I can't complain. But, I mean, looking back, I think, and I've had many people over the time, even my her mom, my mother-in-law, and, all have said, how they've respected both of us for how we've handled the situation. So It's cool. I mean, I get along with her, her boyfriend now, and I have no issues.
But your kids live with you, right?
My oldest one does at this point. She's 18, and she was going to go away to college, but then all this pandemic came through. So, instead of her living up at school, it's kind of closer for her little inner circle to be at my house. So, which I don't mind.
How was it knowing that another man was in the house taking care of your kids?
At first, when they were younger, I struggled with it a little bit, thinking that if they were to call this person dad, that might bother me. But you know what? I believe in, man, it takes a village to raise a good child, a good kid. And, there's some things that you realize with your kids as you go along through life, that they are always listening to you as a parent, but sometimes they just respect that coach or that teacher or that secondary, figure in their life. And sometimes they listen to those people too. Maybe their message comes off a little differently than yours. So, if the other side was, like a drunk and I didn't like the guy or whatever else, I'd probably have more of a problem. Yeah. And then some of my younger youth would probably come out and I'd probably drag his ass out of the house and beat the shit out of him. But, what good would that do other than get me in jail or whatever else? So, I mean, that's not going to do me any good. But, so, yeah, it doesn't bother me. And so there's times to where there's situations where maybe I just can't handle it. And there's times I, hear on the other side something was said, and I do appreciate those times. So, but yeah.
That's very mature of you. So let's get some good stuff in here. Which restaurant chain banned you for life, and how do they apply the ban?
Well, when I was just out, I was probably like 21 or 22. I actually was banned from life from Denny's.
What?
Denny's restaurant. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Do you guys have Denny's?
Oh, it's impossible to get banned from there.
Yeah, I know. It was like the late night restaurant.
A guy literally threatened to rape me at Denny's, and they wouldn't kick him out. I'm not even kidding you.
Well, yeah,
it was awful. That's
bullshit.
And they didn't kick me out. What did you do?
I'm writing Denny's corporate right now. Then shit, damn. But anyway, so we a bunch of us went out. We were done bowling. It was like a Thursday night, midnight. There was maybe only 2 tables of people. 6 or 8 of my buddies walk in. We were ordering food. Well, we're 20. We're loud and we're drunk. So the manager came over, squirrely little dude, started talking shit, telling us to be quiet, getting in our face, blah, blah, blah. Come over again, started giving us shit. Well, basically he decides when we're about halfway through our meal, he's going to kick us out. And on the way out, he wants us all to pay. And, this is, mind you, this is like 1992 or 3, so I was young, so there was no cameras. There's none of that crap. So anyway, he started getting lippy with me, and he got in my face. Well, I decided to back up, and I gave him the old Karate Kid. I told him I was going to crane kick the manager in the chin. So my buddies are trying to drag me out, get me out of there, blah, blah, blah. Manager's still up in my grill. So we went out the first set of glass doors, and now we're in this glass little holding area to get outside. Well, the manager either punched me or hit me in the back of the neck, and I went outside the door, and then he locked the inside of the door, and he started flipping me off inside the windows and blowing kisses at me. So I got mad, and I didn't know what to do. I was looking around, and I picked up a handful of rocks. They were like those red lava rocks that, you know, are light. So I threw them all off the window in the glass of the door, and they just bounced off and nothing happened. So first thing I saw was the Detroit Free Press newspaper machine. So I grabbed it by its hook, picked it up like this, and rammed it right through the front door of the restaurant. And I was going to run in there and drag the manager out and beat the living shit out of him. So at that point, my friends were probably shitting their pants. So they got me in a car. We got the hell out of there. We went home. So the next morning I'm at work and I get a phone call, and I worked in like a shipping receiving department and I get a phone call and nobody ever called back there. So I picked up the phone. It says, "This is the Westland Police Department. Is Scott Gyiraszin around?" And I thought, oh, fuck. "Yes, sir." Well, he said, "Were you at Denny's last night?" And
man.
And I thought, well, this guy knows the damn story. "Yes, sir." So basically what happened was they squeezed out of my buddy who never been in trouble, and they went and banged on his door at like 1 a.m. because they got his license plate asking him about the situation. So him and his dad got woken up at 1 a.m, Mr. Goody Goody, and
ratted you out.
He ratted me out a little bit. So I basically thought I had to go down to the station. They didn't arrest me or anything, but it worked out to where the manager of Denny's, the regional manager, said if I pay for the window and never come back and ban for life from Denny's, that they would not press charges. So I knew a guy who ran a glass company, was my neighbor. I called him. He went down there and fixed it. We worked it out some way with some insurance guy, and I never had to pay for anything really anyway, and it just all kind of went away. But I was banned from Denny's. And
have you been to a Denny's since?
I haven't been
to a Denny's?
Nope, never been to a Denny's since. And that was probably 25, 26 years ago, something like that.
You could go. You know that, right?
Yeah, I could go. I mean, I could go to any state. They're not going to chase me down. You know, that manager probably got fired within 2 months anyway. But, you know, it's not even there anymore. It's a Sonic. But when they broke it down, when they were tearing it down, I'm like, "Hey, that's my window. Can I have that?" But, yeah, when I was younger, I was wild. I liked to go to parties, and you know, with that, you know, I lived in a suburban type area, maybe 20 minutes outside from Detroit. So yeah, we were wild and crazy.
Did you fight a lot? Get in fights?
Yeah, I did. I fought a lot when I was a kid. I remember the one time I started a big brawl with some older kids. We were at this party and they accused us of stealing their beer bong. So we were walking out and guy come running out like a linebacker, and he trucked my buddy who had this beer bong and knocked him out. And I was standing there. I was like dumbfounded, like, holy shit. Well, I don't remember the time frame, but earlier I had got jumped at the Detroit Auto Show, got my butt kicked in a bathroom. So after that happened, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I got jumped. They stole my jewelry and stuff, beat me up. I mean, I was in downtown Detroit. I was back by the Bentleys. So, I was outnumbered, got beat up, whatever, shit happens. So after that happened, I had bought myself some mace, right? So we were at this party, and I see this big guy was 5 years older, trucks my buddy. Well, I decided I was going to mace him in the face. I put him in a headlock, and I was pounding him in the face like 20 times. I was punching him. Well, he was down and out, and his buddies really didn't see what happened. Well, I decided to go sit in a car. We were trying to leave. I was trying to just hide, basically. So I turn around and look out of the back of the car, and there's like 60 dudes running down the street from like 10 houses down. They're trying to all get to me because I was in the car, and they just realized I maced their buddy and pounded his face a bunch of times. So I thought, holy shit. So I ran out of the car, ran around through the backyards, came out through the guy's front of the house, and ran up his pine tree. And I was 20 feet in the air in the pine tree hiding. Why, there's a huge brawl going on. Everybody was dispersing till it all calmed down because they were all looking for me. My friends were trying to trying to figure out where I was too, but I was hiding up in the tree. So I just ended up coming down. I hopped the fence and all was good. But yeah, so it was always something, man. We were always something. If it wasn't going to the bar in Canada, fighting over there, because we could drink at 19 when we were 21. So we could go over to Canada and drink, and that wasn't very good. We weren't mature enough to handle that. So, we were always fighting somebody who'd look at your woman the wrong way or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't the smartest of things to do back then, obviously.
I mean, I thought I was a mess. Like, you're kind of a bigger mess. You might have your shit together a little bit more at this very point in time, but my goodness, like, you realize you're a disaster, right?
Oh, when I was younger, I will say, if it wasn't for my ex-wife, her family, her mom, her dad, and all them, I'm telling you, I probably would have went to jail at some point for a long time, because I had no fear. I would do anything. If I was the one you would dare to do it, I would do it. Like, I wasn't afraid of getting hurt. I just was young and dumb, really. But I always went out to have fun. I don't know, push the limits all the time. It was a good time.
You seemed like the guy to me that lost his virginity at like 13 years old. Is that true?
No. I was going into 10th grade, so in between 9th and 10th grade.
15?
Yeah, I think I was 15.
What do you remember from that?
It was just awful. It was a disaster.
It was?
Yeah, it was just a disaster.
It was a disaster? What?
Yeah,
come on.
Knowing what I know now, I mean,
of course.
Yeah, it was awful. I think I probably 2-pump chumped her.
Yeah, that's fine.
Probably gave her 2 pumps and I was done, but
she didn't care.
I didn't give a shit. I got my rocks off.
Yeah, you're
Who
15.
cares?
You don't care. No.
Right. I didn't care.
She probably wasn't expecting a lot either. Was it her first time?
I don't recall asking her that or even knowing that, but it was that's what, you asked me some high school moments. I'll lead this into my most embarrassing high school moment. But around that time after high school, we used to have this place called Downtown Plymouth. So who probably is aware of it? All the people around here, but it used to be the pickup hangout joint. It was maybe like a mile of like downtown ritzy kind of houses and businesses. And you could only go 25 up and down the street. So it was bumper to bumper for the mile. There's people walking everywhere, ice cream places, McDonald's, Taco Bell, all these places. So every high school kind of had their little place to hang out. I mean, Friday, Saturday night, it would take 40 minutes to turn left to go on the street. So you would literally wait like a half hour to even turn down this road, right? So everybody's jamming radios and, it's just a huge pickup place for younger people. But so that's where I met the first girl I ended up shacking with. But she lived too far away and I didn't have a car at the time. So, she asked if we wanted to continue the relationship. And I told her I had enough opportunities close to home that I didn't need to worry about trying to ride my moped for 40 minutes to get over to her house. So I told her it wasn't going to work out. But anyway, that place down there, my buddies remind me. So the most embarrassing moment in this was embarrassing. But my dad bought me a nice fancy car out of high school. Trans Am, T-tops.
Oh, tank tops.
Oh yeah, I had the fancy rims. It was nice.
Was it
car.
Black? Like
no, it was blue. It was like navy blue.
Oh, okay.
And it had like a grayish like tone to it. And nice stereo system, whole 9 yards. It was like 4 years old when he bought it for me. It only had like 30,000 miles, so it was a nice car. But so we're cruising down this area, right? And that's just it's Friday night. There's people everywhere. And we're getting to the ice cream carousel joint. All my buddies are there with their Chevelles, hoods open. They got their Mustangs all lined up. There's 7, 8 cars. There's 50, 60 people from my high school. They see me coming. I got 2, 3 people hanging out the T-tops. We're all yelling, woo, having fun. Well, I thought I was going to be cool and neutral slam that bitch right in front of the freaking carousel ice cream. And I threw it in reverse. My buddy threw forward. The car stalled right in the middle of the road. Almost got rear-ended.
Dude, you think people do neutral drops anymore?
No.
What a dumb, stupid, for people that are watching this that have no idea what a neutral drop is. Why don't you tell them what a neutral dropper is? Because it's the best way for your engine to legit fall out of your car.
Oh, yeah.
I used to do it all the time.
Yeah, you just throw it in neutral and you rev it up and whoa, and I'd rev it and then you throw it back and drive and park it and keep going, So
Yeah.
Well, I didn't, I threw it in neutral and the car like bogged and just like and stopped and my buddy was flying up and we looked like 4 fucking jackasses sitting in that car. We had to put our head down and I had to start the car. Instead of pulling in, we just kept going.
What is the smartest thing you've ever done in your life? What do you think it is?
Other than having, my children, I do think that was, but I think one of the smartest things I ever did in my life was starting our fantasy football league 26 years ago.
Seriously?
Yep. And the reason I say that, it's not for monetary reasons or, anything like that, but I cherish the friendships I have. So here I am. I graduated high school in 1990. So I have a trophy that actually this year was our 26th year with the same dudes playing fantasy football. And that I started it when we were at college. We had some simple rules. I actually kind of made them up, with how many points per yards and catches and touchdowns. So I was always into the like APBA baseball dice game. And I was always into sports as a kid and did the baseball cards and baseball card shows. So I was always that stat nerdy kid and wanted to keep track of stuff. And so I thought, man, we could do this with football. So we kind of started doing that. And, I was putting some thought into it. And really that has kept my 12 group of friends in our inner circle together for all these years. And I mean, it's some of my best friends. They're all like my brothers. We argue like brothers. We love each other like brothers. But yeah, I mean, that to me is like, I look back and without doing that, I wouldn't have this circle of friends. I literally still talk to like 20 guys from high school and they're all my best friends. So if I wouldn't have done that, we would have never be where we are today with with all of us being together. I still bowl with 4 of the 5 same guys. I mean, it's just, so that to me was important. I look at my life now and I'm glad I did that. It was one of the best things I've ever done. So, yeah.
What about regrets? Was becoming a Lions fan like your biggest regret or mistake?
At this point, if I ever die and the Lions never win, then yeah, that will suck. But, if it wasn't for sports gambling, yeah, it would be even worse. But, playing DFS for the last 10 years, I've learned not to really give too much vested interest into that. I mean, I cheer for them. I get upset. But I used to have season tickets when the Lions and when Barry Sanders gave it up, I decided that was it for me. So I gave it up. And then, DirecTV came out and then that NFL ticket started coming out. And, back then everybody had those scrambled cheater cards that everybody could get every channel. So, I've always worked in electronic robotic repair. So I had all those smart, kind of dudes, electronic guys behind me. So they would program them DirecTV cards. So I always had, access to free DirecTV way back then. And so I started watching the tickets, started gambling on football, and I never cared really after. But, I think the best thing for a sports fan is when you get there, right? So like we experienced the Red Wings never winning. It was a long time. So I was, old enough to drink, go to bars. And when the Red Wings won, it's like, it's like busting your nut the first time. It's a great feeling. You keep doing it. You see these sports teams that win year after year, they can't even fill their stadiums. But, so when the Lions do win and they get to be good, it'll be a lot of fun for that first year or two around here. And, that Super Bowl Sunday, them championship Sundays in Detroit are going to be amazing. So hopefully it's all worth it then, and we'll have fun.
Never going to happen, buddy.
You're probably right. I mean, we just hired we hired some new brass. So maybe we'll have some new luck this time.
What do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy DFS more? Or do you enjoy sports betting more?
I enjoy DFS more. DFS to me, there's so many different ways to play DFS. So, if you want to be a casual guy and just play with some disposable money and have a chance to win some good money, then, that's there for you. If you want to try to grind out cash games and do that. So sports betting to me, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I've learned over the time about, putting yourself in a favorable position, with different odds. But with DFS for me, I used to go to the casino quite a bit. Used to like going to the casino. But, I'd take 500 or 1,000 to the casino. I never had a chance to win 50K at a casino. There's no way in hell on a Sunday at DFS, and I've done it multiple times. So to me, I'd much rather sit around and gamble that way and can eat and drink what I want and do whatever I want. And, so DFS has been a lot of fun. It's been a big part of my life the last 10 years.
Well, betting, you really started young, like you were saying, right? Like 14.
I started young with my dad. And then actually when I was like 18 or 19, I got to know the local bookie pretty well. So I actually helped him out quite a bit too. So I was on the other end of the phones, helping him take bets, running down lines. I was like 18, 19, kind of just wanting to be involved, just kind of wanting to see how it was working. And I used to call up and be like, yep, number 58. Okay, number 58. What's your figure? Minus 840. Check it off, number 58. And then I say, What do you want? Yep, I want the NFL lines. Ready for the rundown? Yep. And then he'd run down Dallas 348, Chicago. And then, you'd do that 45 minutes before the game started. And then you'd have to listen to everybody bitch how the line was busy for 10 minutes. And then they'd get you on and you'd have 5 phones and you're running down sports lines, telling them to pick up where you left. And then we'd usually wait like a 5-minute time. And then from 12:45 to 1 or whatever it was, we just took bets. We wouldn't give you line. And I'd write down on a ticket your number, write the bet, and put it on the nail on the wood, and then they'd spread them all out and we'd count them out and count your plays. And I'd go around, help collect money, collect those football cards from my dad. That's kind of why I got with the bookie, because I was handing him $5,000 a week in football tickets. So he was like, holy shit, man, this kid's crazy. So, I kind of just got involved with him doing that.
Did anyone never pay? Were there guys that just never paid and you'd have to send people after them, or what?
No, I mean, those football tickets that I was involved in, you had to pay right then. So, but I do know of a couple instances where, guy went down and, maybe rattle you up a little bit. But in reality, bookies don't. That's like the old days. That's movie kind of shit. I mean, they don't want to draw attention to themselves. They might shame your name a little bit at the local bars or, in the local inner circle and stuff like that. But, it's not really to where, somebody's getting beat down. I've never really, heard. I've heard of, maybe getting thrown into a wall and kind of rattle a guy a little bit. But, nothing of the crazy nature that you might think.
It's really interesting that there's not a lot of women that sports bet. So have you introduced your daughters, either one of your daughters, to this life, or they just never asked, or what? How's that happening?
They understand what dad does. My daughters know that I bet on sports and play FanDuel, and, they get it. Cause I'm yelling, I got 365-inch TVs all in my basement, side by side. So, I'm constantly watching sports, and, I'm always watching something, looking into stats or just whatever it may be. So, they kind of picked up on it when there's a 1:00 afternoon baseball game on a random Tuesday. And, I'm cheering for the Cubs and Pirates because I got a, day slate, and I'm cheering for Rizzo hit a homer, and, they figured it out.
Baseball is fun. I forget about and I don't have the time in September to devote to it just because all my resources, and not just playing DFS, more my work is broadcasting, just doing, most of my work here, but a lot of work elsewhere. So I just have to stop in September. And it's fascinating. You've got all these call-ups too. Baseball, of all the sports, easily the most unique just because of the grind. And I get it for a lot of basketball, NBA players. They're sitting there in our Discord. They're switching their lineups up all night. But for baseball, it's just so many games, and there's 2-3 slates a day too.
Yeah.
Baseball's fun.
I love baseball. For me is like my favorite sweat. I'll be truthful. I never really played NBA that much because, like I said, at the early years, I was really stressing out, and, and I used the basketball time as kind of just re-cleanse my brain from, really from January till April when baseball started. So a lot of the years I just never really got involved in basketball, but I got a lot of friends that are good at DFS, like Hoop and Shane, my buddy I was telling you about, and a few other guys. So, if I got some questions or need some help, I got some pretty good resources I can get a hold of, and talk to and ask some questions. And, I've always been one, even if they sent me their exact lineup, I'd make a change or two to try to be a little bit different out of courtesy. If I beat them, I beat them. If not, I lost, whatever. I just, I would try to change a team sometimes, but Yeah, baseball is my favorite. I really like baseball. Like when you know your guy hits a 2-run homer and you're watching your phone and it's like a slot machine. It's like you wonder how far that line's going to go up, you know? It's just so much fun. Like basketball, I can't like there's times I'm watching basketball, I don't even know, like I know my guys are doing well, but like I can't gauge really how well, I'm doing. It's like then I get run down. I'm like, how the fuck did I get run down? My guy scored 70 points. Like, so there's baseball though. I love baseball. There's so many things that you as a fantasy DFS player that can use in your own process. That's what I really like about baseball. So, there's a lot of things that I pay attention to, like I like the weather. I like to pay attention to bullpen trends. I like to pay attention to, of course, the starters, what teams hit, what, handed pitchers better. So to me, it's like repetitious every 5 days because it's just really rotating with the pitchers, and then the batters are just, the teams are just changing with the hitters. But, I learned a lot, over the years, but baseball is the most volatile. So it's fun because you don't have to have that. There aren't that many times where there's that many slate breakers in baseball, where you get a slate breaker in other sports that just kill the slate. If you don't have them, you're toast.
There's a lot of time that goes into this, and you have a real job. You have a daytime job, right? And
yes.
I mean, this is my daytime job. And in between everything, I'm trying to put some lineups together, especially during baseball season. Like NFL, my bread and butter, absolutely love it. Baseball, a pretty close second. And baseball season is just so time consuming. So how much time do you actually have a chance to spend on each slate every day?
Well, if my boss is listening to this, if you could just hit pause.
Oh boy.
No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so for the longest time there, for years, I had my own company buying and selling robotics. So I had as much time as I wanted. But when COVID started,
robotics,
yeah,
like you sold robots, right?
Yep, robot equipment to all the factories. So anybody watching, you need a robot or anything, you let me know. But anyway, so now and COVID started, I actually sold my company out to a larger company. They let me run my company basically within their walls. So I work from home now. So I got ADD. I can't keep and pay attention to one damn thing all the time. So, I got 2 computers on my desk. One's probably on some kind of optimizer site or reading something, or I'm looking at something, looking for parts or whatever I need to find for a customer. So yeah, I do have quite a bit of time during the day that I can spend and research, baseball stuff. I kind of got it down now to where I know what to look for. And then for me, it's just a decision, the type path I think I'm going to take to try to be successful that day. And a lot of times more than any other sport, I hedge in baseball. So if I'm not playing that A+ pitcher, I'm playing a B pitcher, like a 8,100 pitcher, a $7,500 pitcher. I usually make a team that goes against my pitcher. So if my pitcher takes a shit, and I'll stack it maybe with 1 or 2 of my other stacks. I've kind of found, the hedge teams a lot of times seem to do pretty well, especially if you got a mid-range chalky pitcher that you like and he gets blown up. I mean, you're going to be at the top. So yeah, baseball's fun. It's my favorite. And that's what I'm looking forward to this year. We only had 60 games last year. It kind of seemed like a half-assed baseball season. So I'm really looking forward to next year.
Yeah, I wish they just cut it down to like 90 or 100 games. Be so much better. 60 was so much fun last year. I could have used a little bit more, but 162 at this point, who's got time for that? I don't have time for it anymore. I really don't.
Yeah,
I have to make time. It's too much.
It's a lot. In DFS baseball too, usually like April and May are generally pretty good. You get a lot of guys that are trying it out, maybe had a little success, but and when you start rolling into middle of June, end of July, and into August, it just seems like it's the same 100 dudes that are playing in all the, in all the cash games, all the 50-50s, some of the higher stakes tournaments. It's all the same guys generally. So, yeah, it thins out middle of the year. So I know baseball's tiring for a lot, but, the first few months I generally hit it a little harder, maybe do play some more cash games than I normally would, some 50-50s and stuff like that. But, yeah, I really, baseball tournaments are so much fun.
Tell me about the robots. Like, you sell robots to who? Are these the robots that are going to end up killing us in the end? What kind of robots are these?
Well, any kind of automated type systems I've sold, like Fanic, ABB, robots, any kind of robot. They got like paint robots, material handling robots, anything kind of in a plant. So if you were in a car factory, you know, they got robots that paint, they got robots that are moving parts and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm like a walking catalog. So actually buying and selling used parts, what I do is another form of gambling, which is why I enjoy it. So, you know, I might go to an auction or go into a plant and I could buy up the whole line and give a guy 100 and some thousand for 30 robots. And then I got to break them down. We resell all the parts to whatever, you know, used parts to whatever else. So, you know, it's gambling, putting money out front. And, you know, a lot of times you could be a hero saving the day if a guy's machine breaks down and you got the part that's obsolete and you're helping him get his machine running. It's always been a fun business. And most of the people are, you know, good maintenance guys. And, you know, my ability to talk about sports generally was my go-to, you know, as my sales niche kind of thing. So I'd always, you know, get the guy down in, let's say, Alabama or Florida, and you'd yuck it up about some Bama football or some Florida football or, you know, something about their sports teams. And you'd have a buddy for the week, you know, and they'd buy parts from you. So, yeah, that was always my stick. But, yeah, so I've been the robot world has been good to me. I can't complain.
All right, buddy. If we miss any stories, you got to tell them right now because this has been a whirlwind. There's been a lot going on in this one. It's crazy.
Well, I know you guys, Big T was saying, you know, he wanted to, you know, hear about some of my high school years if I was getting it with the lady. You know, I heard him the other day. So, you know, remember we had to mention Uncle T. You know, he's over there after surgery. I actually checked up on him. He said, you know, he's a little discomfort, kind of in some pain, and he's got to get through it. But I was making sure he's all right. He's kind of hoping that he can, you know, get down to it. But like I said, I was always a free kind of crazy guy. But so I was asking my buddies, they were all over for a party, and they brought up a couple that we were laughing about. But one of them they brought up was I used to play a lot of softball. I was a good athlete. Played softball. We'd play, you know, high level tournaments, but we'd go way up north in Michigan. And we had a school bus that we bought from a church, and we renovated it and made it into a NASCAR party bus. So I had like 11 of my best friends. We all I think we bought it for $3,000. So we all pitched in $300, took all the seats out, put a deck on the top. So we would take it to parties, concerts, wherever. We'd go wherever in this stupid thing. So we went up to the softball tournament, and there was this goofy ass dude on this team we were playing. If I remember right, they were called the Henchmen. But he's running around, no shirt on, shit written all over his chest with a diaper on with this flag. And he's yelling, streaking the field and shit. And I'm thinking, the hell, this dude's nuts. Well, the whole tournament, every field we saw him on, here's this same dude running around in between innings like a goofball, you know, wasted out of his mind. So later that night, we're at this house bar. Mind you, we're up north in Michigan. So it was like a house that they turned into a bar in like a neighborhood. So it was the weirdest thing. So just imagine being at like a old bungalow house bar, like an old saloon. So it's asshole to elbow softball people. There was girls tournament going on, dudes tournament going on. I mean, there's like 100 teams up north. So there's like people all in the front lawn, maybe hundreds of people in the back, bars asshole to elbows. So this dude comes running up, same dude, and he's got his same diaper on, no shirt, and he was contemplating running through the bar and all the people naked. And I called him a pussy and said, "You ain't doing that." And he said, "Bullshit. Why don't you do it, pussy?" I said,
sounds like a really intelligent conversation, by the way.
And I said, "Sure." I mean, this is, you know, we were drunk. So I stripped my clothes down, handed them to my future father-in-law, handed him my clothes, ran through the bar, jumped up on the pool table, swung what my mama gave me while I was dancing on the pool table, jumped back down, ran out the front door, and the whole time I had my boxers in my hand, ran back around and asked my future father-in-law if I could have my clothes back. He was like just dumbfounded at what he just saw me do, just literally streaked the bar with all these people. So he's laughing at me. So that was kind of a talked about thing for a while, you know, that I streaked this bar, jumped up on the pool table. So I was that kind of got some giggles and laughs. But yeah, like I said, I was always wild, crazy, willing to try about anything. You know, had a few brushes with the law, beat up my brother one time, had to sit in jail all night.
Yeah, we heard that one. That was a good story. That was on the Wishbone. And if you haven't listened to the Wishbone, we're going to be going kind of all sports now that the NFL season is coming to an end. And we drop it usually late Tuesday night. So by Wednesday morning, you'll have it. But Gyiraszin and me and Uncle T do that show. I really enjoy doing that show too. We have a lot of fun on it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I mean, now we get to talk some other sports coming up. We're getting into baseball. I can't wait. It should be fun. So yeah, it's always good to hop on with you guys.
Yeah, and then we can talk about James Harden and Kyrie Irving. It'll be fun. We'll have good times.
James Harden. What a mess that is. I mean, shit, if you're a stripper in Houston, are you relocating to New Jersey?
There's plenty. John Wall spent thousands of dollars in DC on strippers. So
I'm sure
they'll be fine. There's plenty more money for basketball players to go around. Yeah.
I did find it funny that they had the rule where they were banning visitors in their hotel rooms.
I know.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I do love doing the Wishbone and looking forward to continuing the rest of the year here.
Yep. Check out runpuresports.com as well. Gyiraszin, it was wonderful doing this with you. It did not disappoint, and you're every bit as a disaster as I thought you were going to be. Hey. It's good to know another one.
So those of you out there who've maybe gotten some trouble, you know what? You can get your shit straight. You just got to
it's possible.
Get some sense by you. I always said that I was street smart, not book smart, and there's times where my street smarts has helped me way more in life than being book smart. So, I just attribute all the bullshit I did throughout my years and all the trouble I caused is just the training for me to get through life and get my daughters through life.
All right. If you haven't checked out our other Inside the DFS studio pieces, there's been quite a few of them now. BigT, JSU. We got Titletown, JJ from the bet side, Gyiraszin, AP, Hoop. A lot of guys. Gyiraszin, though, you're a nutbag. And for you and for me, thank you, Gyiraszin. That was a lot of fun, dude. Take care of yourself. You keep running pure. Keep running pure.
Always.